Hey, good morning, everybody. Happy Sunday. Hope you're all doing well. Um, Maybe Monday for some of you for where you are, but welcome to the stream. I'm Ian Douglas. I'm the author of the website techinterview.guide, and today we're joined by Sakshi Rambhia, um, who just graduated. So congratulations, yay, new grad, and has had some really fantastic internships at some big fan companies. So we're going to dive into her background a little bit and find out what she's up to, find out what she's up to next, find out some other cool stuff that she's involved with on the side. So Shakshi, thank you for spending some time with us today on the stream. Really appreciate your time.
No problem. I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Yeah, super. So let's start with your introduction and background. So tell us a little bit about who you are. How did you get into technology? I usually like to start like what got you interested in programming and getting into tech and engineering and things like that.
Right. So after my 10th grade, we had like a really long summer break. And I knew I wanted to do engineering because I always like solving problems, doing puzzles. I like science in general, more physics and maths. So I kind of had a rough idea I wanted to do engineering, but I did not know the specifics of what I wanted to do. So we had this one teacher who was like, like a typical teacher. There are these kids doing this and this, and y'all cannot even turn in your homework or something like that. And I was like, okay, let me try enrolling in an app development course over the summer, and I really enjoyed that. I went out and put my first app on the Play Store, and it got like 2,000 downloads in the first month, like all organic.
That's
So
cool.
it was a really good confidence booster, and I really liked the process. Like coding helped me in critical thinking and stuff. It was more like solving puzzles as well. So I thought maybe I'll dive more into that. So I took one class in 11th and 12th grade, which also I thoroughly enjoyed. So I ended up taking computer science in my undergrad. But
Cool.
after my 12th grade, before college, I took a semester gap to kind of um, collect some tuition for myself. And that's when I started freelancing and building chatbots, websites, Shopify stores. And that gave me a really interesting insight into the business aspect of things. And that's how I ended up taking business and tech entrepreneurship minors as well. That is a bit about me. So that's my background in computer science and business. I have always thought that I would like to do something at the intersection of both. I see myself as a future entrepreneur.
That's awesome. That's a really cool journey. And that freelance work is definitely going to come in handy for things like e-commerce platforms and so on. Obviously, is huge. Like there's tons and tons of work for that because other people don't want to get into programming. They want to hire folks like us to go do that kind of thing. So kudos to you for taking all that initiative, like while you're still in high school, like trying to learn all that kind of stuff, and then getting into full time engineering type of role in university. That's fantastic. So from there, so while you're in university, you landed some really amazing internships. So tell us about the internships that you got. Like, what was the first internship? I'd love to hear a little bit of background around how did you position yourself for these internship types of roles? Like, how did you find them? How did you start to build projects to really stand out to these companies? Like, what kinds of work did you have to do there?
Absolutely. So, in my first 2 years, I got constantly rejected. I must have gotten over to 300 rejections, and this is
Wow.
not a made up number.
Mm.
So yeah, a lot of failures and learning outcomes over there. In my first year, my problem was like I actually grew up in India, went to a high school in India, and then I came here for college. So I did not really know when the recruiting timeline is, when companies hire. So I missed out on a lot of opportunities because by the time I realized the applications was over, it was too late. So that's my number one tip out there. Like really know when you need to apply. Apply early in the first 3 days if you can. And then in my second year, I was not really prepared with referrals and networking and stuff. I think I'm an introvert, more like an ambivert, but I did not have any referrals, any connections in the industry. I didn't know what interviews looked like. So I know I should have done like really better research beforehand, but this time what I did, I started noting down all the things companies are looking for when they are hiring, what conferences to attend,
Mm.
and how to prepare. And then That year, I started getting more interviews. I applied as soon as the applications opened, and my first offer was actually from Oracle for a software engineering
Cool.
position, but I was also simultaneously interviewing with Google and Microsoft. So I ended up getting a software like step internship program offer from Google. I can tell you more about what that is, and a product management. Microsoft calls it program management PM for internship, that from Microsoft, and I ended up doing both last summer. Um, so, STEP internship program is basically like a software internship, but is more geared towards first and second year students, freshmen and sophomore, because you don't really have that much experience that is required in a traditional software engineering internship.
Right.
So, if you're in your first or second year, I would really recommend checking out these programs. Like Google has STEP, Microsoft has something called the Explorer program, Facebook has something called the Facebook University program.
Hmm.
It might be helpful. There are a lot of companies, even banks like Bank of America and Morgan Stanley. I think they have the summer analyst programs or something that you can check out, especially if you're in your first or second year. And coming to your next question, like what are the types of things I did? How did I build out my profile? So, like I said, I had started working really early on, right in high school, and I kept that momentum all throughout college. Um, our school has this program called Consulting for Public Good. Basically, they had tie-ups with various nonprofits that needed help, so they would post their projects. Oh, I need a website made. I need this job platform made for an NGO in Africa. So I really signed up for all of those, and kept building projects through those. And one interesting one was building a website for a UN initiative that I got to
Wow.
attend the launch of it in the New York headquarters. So I got to meet delegates and ambassadors from all over the world. So
Wow, that's
I think
amazing.
what really helped me was just doing something constantly, but doing something you like don't do something for the sake of it. I see a lot of developers make this mistake. They watch a tutorial on YouTube and just copy the project that is there. Don't do
Hmm.
that. Like, think of a problem you want to solve or something you really care about. So refer to all these tutorials for the parts you're stuck, like say how to call an API for this project. Then you go to a tutorial, learn that, and implement in your own thing. But don't really like blindly copy A to Z projects.
Hmm.
And I think, yeah, all of this work, taking up, participating in college clubs, taking up projects, that really ended up getting my resume shortlisted.
Yeah, no, it's great, and I agree that you have to have unique projects. If you're just doing the same projects that everybody else makes, you're not going to stand out because you're going to look just like everybody else. They want to know what have you done that's kind of unique that we want to have at our company as well. And I find it really fascinating that companies are doing these step programs, as you call them, to help new grads, or not even new grads, but people who are still in school come
Mhm.
in, gain some experience. I'm a little bit curious what the mentorship is like and in those kinds of roles. Like, are
Mhm.
you still doing what you might be doing as a full-time engineer, but with a lot more mentorship? Like, is there a lot of pair programming going on? Or do they just have very flexible time schedules? Like, here, get this thing done. If it takes you a week, that's fine. If it takes you an afternoon, that's fine. Like, are they more relaxed about it? Do you feel a lot of pressure, things like that?
Absolutely. So, great question. The difference is more in mentorship and support.
Hmm.
The projects are equally important and complex.
Okay.
You do not have a very easy project like, hey, just fix this button or something.
Mm.
Um, I can give a little context. I was working on large language models in Google research. So, that is something still state of the art.
Yeah.
So, projects are complex, but we got a lot of mentorship and support from manager. They are more understanding of your skill levels, so whenever you needed help, they're there. And another thing that is different is, especially in this program, I don't know about the other programs, but for the step program I had a partner. Like both of us were working on the same project, whereas in traditional software engineering you'd be individually working on a project. I think that was the main difference. And in terms of evaluation, they evaluate you based on your skill level, which is your year in school. So they did not make any harsh evaluations based on what they'd expect from someone in their third or fourth year.
Gotcha.
I think that's the only difference.
Okay. And these internships are generally made to be like 3 month or 4 month. Like they're not meant to be really long term, but they're
Mhm.
also not like, only come hang out for a couple of weeks. Like they're meant to be like a very immersive, like 3 month or 4 month
Yeah.
kind of engagement. So it's cool that they've got a lot of mentorship built into that because, I mean, anybody starting a job needs to have some sort of mentorship. You need someone to kind of help you learn and understand things. What would you say are like the top couple of tips that you would give somebody to start either in an internship or on a brand new job? Like, what are some really critical things that that you have to like really pay attention to, or make sure you're writing out notes or documentation and things like that? Like, what kinds of tips would you give people for starting a new job?
I would say really understand your team and your project well. Especially for internship, it is more project based. You'll have a one-off project that you'll work on the entire summer or spring or whenever your term is. So really understand that well, because most of them are really ambiguous and you shape them as you go. But it is important you understand the core concept behind it. Um, so that you don't get stuck later on, or you're like aimlessly working. Of course your mentors and managers are there to help you, but
Mhm.
it makes a difference when you yourself understand it, and then understand the technology that is used in the project. And I would really recommend taking the first few weeks to ramp up on the technology, and either watch tutorials, practice on your own, build something small related to it. That will really help you in the later stages of the project, when you'll have to like ship quickly, or you'll be expected to turn in things a little faster than in the earlier stages.
Right.
So in the
Mm.
beginning, when you're like onboarding and there's still some ramp up time, it's usually actually to gain these skills that are required. And that'll be my top advice. I had made that mistake while doing some projects, like not in internships, but personal projects. I would dive right into the project without understanding the documentation. And that actually costed me a lot more time rather than just understanding beforehand, and then you knew exactly where to look to.
Mm. Awesome.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's great. Sean and Ash, thanks for the follow as well. Give you some blinky lights here in the background. Cool. So talk us through kind of the progression, like how you mentioned all of your internships happened in your third year or fourth year. Is
Yeah.
that right? And you started out with an offer from Oracle while you were still interviewing with, you said Microsoft and Google. How did you make that choice? Like, was it really obvious? Like, oh, I'm gonna definitely take this one, or like, how did you handle like competing offers, or negotiating like, or can you even negotiate on an internship type of offer, or would you negotiate?
Right. So, quick correction there. I graduated a year early, so
Oh,
my
okay.
internships happened in my second and third year.
Okay.
But I started like in the spring term, so it's kind of a vague timeline.
Mhm.
Um, anyway, so like any other developer, I had my head set on Google, just because of the kind of stuff they were doing. So that
Mhm.
was an easy choice there, because I realized the kind of projects that I would be working on would be high impact. Um, so that really helped me. And between Google and Microsoft, it was a really, really tough choice, because both were amazing companies, amazing offers. They were almost the same. And yeah, it was a tough choice, but I had my head set on doing both and kind of worked around to make both happen.
Mhm.
But with respect to negotiation, I think you should definitely negotiate internship offers, especially if you have a higher offer from somewhere else. See, some of the specific programs, like maybe STEP or Facebook University, might have a specific budget for the program, like it's standard throughout every year. But some of the other more flexible software engineering offers and stuff, a lot of companies definitely negotiate. So I would advise you to do that. Even if you don't have a competing offer, it doesn't hurt to ask. I know some people that negotiated without a competing offer,
Hmm.
so that is highly recommended.
Yeah.
And with respect to choosing an offer, really see what works best for you. It is not always all about money, it's also about your interests and what skills you want to learn and where do you want to have the most impact.
Right. Now, wow, so many questions that we could branch off of here. When it comes to negotiations, just going back on the idea of can you negotiate if you don't have a competing offer? Absolutely, you can, because what you're negotiating is your value to the company. You
Mhm,
don't have to have another offer to show
mhm.
that value. You can just tell them, like, remind them, like, hey, these are the skills that I'm bringing, these are the kinds of projects that I've been doing, this is why I'm a good fit on the team. You can't just demand more money. You have to explain why you deserve that extra money or whatever it is that you're negotiating for. So yeah, definitely negotiate on those. When it comes to the kinds of projects that you were sort of promoting on your resume, were they projects specific to the companies? Because when you're getting into a lot of these internship type programs, you don't necessarily know which team you're going to be on. Where
Mhm.
typically the advice I would give on the channel is if you're going to go apply for a specific role at a specific company for like a full-time role, you know what that role is, and so you can
Yeah.
kind of tailor the resume for that role. But when you're applying for these internships, you don't know which team you're going to get put on. You don't know what the project is. And so your resume really has to be a little bit more generic. So would you recommend then that resume has more like personal passion projects? Like these are things that I'm interested in so that the company can kind of see the variety of things that you're interested in doing and then figure out from there like where you would fit on their team? Like what would you recommend there?
Yes, absolutely. So all of these are general hiring based programs. So you'll get hired as a software engineer or a product manager, but not specifically, say, Java developer or Python developer. So I would recommend having all of your technical stuff. Like if you're applying for a software position, have your resume completely technical, but tailor it to the job in the sense like if you're applying for a software position, do not put some social media experience that you have or that you volunteered at this particular blood camp, and all of that is then unnecessary. So even though these are general positions and not team specific, it is still important to tailor your resume to the position you're applying in the broader category.
Right.
And
So, oh,
um,
go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah, I had a technical projects section in my resume where I put down all the projects that I have worked on by myself and the languages and technologies used in all of these projects. So that might be something helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, because with the STEM programs, or the STEP programs and the internships and so on, they're still going to advertise the general technologies that they
Mhm.
hope you're going to know. So you can still promote those. Like if they're looking for a Python developer and you happen to know a little bit of Python, you can promote a lot of your Python work to show that you know some Python. But again, with these internship roles, they don't expect you to be an expert. They're going to give you lots of mentorship and a lot of support and so on. For people who are not in university programs, and I'm thinking of folks that are like going through boot camps and coding programs that are like 6 months, 7 months long, would you recommend that they could also apply for these internship level roles to start getting some of that experience, or are these big companies only looking for university students?
I think they have separate programs for people who are from boot camps or taking a career break or a career switch. All of these people, they have specific programs. For internship programs, they have certain criterias like you have to go back to school the semester after your
Hmm.
internship and stuff like that. But for boot camps, I think they have something called apprenticeship. Wait, I'm not sure.
Okay.
Uh, Apprenticeships or something like that. But I'm sure a lot of these companies have special programs for that. And those are something you could definitely check out. But even if you apply to like a traditional role in a company, like say a specific team is looking for a cloud engineer, and you happen to apply, and if you have bootcamp experience, they do not like reject you right away. They do not care where you have your experience from. They just want to see your work and what you have worked on and your skills.
That was a really nice change to see in the industry, probably, oh gosh, maybe 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, where companies started becoming a lot more flexible to the idea of, hey,
Yeah.
we'll at least interview people from these code schools or boot camp programs. I would say like the 9 week to 12 week boot camps are probably going to be at a little bit of a disadvantage as far as having enough technical depth to get through some of the interviews, but it's still possible. Like you could still do a lot of extra study and get through those interviews. But it was nice to see a lot of these big companies drop the requirement to have a university degree in some sort of computer science or computer engineering type of role to allow people that are switching careers that want to get into software, want to get into some sort of STEM sort of position to have that availability. So I think that was pretty fantastic. Um, so you went through Microsoft, you went through Google, and then you ended up at Tesla. So tell us what it was like interviewing at Tesla and like making that change.
Right. So I was actually confused. I had gotten an offer from Carnegie Mellon to start the master's program versus
Hmm.
starting a Tesla internship. But that didn't work out because, like, Carnegie Mellon didn't work out because of some reasons with my last
Hmm.
semester at school. So I ended up taking the Tesla offer, which was really great because it added a lot to my resume. Um, Interviewing was like any other company. You have a general phone screen and then you have a technical interview with some coding question. So that was a standard process. And then the recruiter gets back with an offer or no offer, and then the actual offer letter takes quite some time.
Yeah.
So that is in general, but the work is really exciting and fast moving. Little bit of an overview. I worked on the Dojo team, which is developing the chip. Um, and so I think this was my first time working on hardware as a software engineer. It was really
Cool.
cool. Yeah.
Was it
Anything
like
special?
firmware level code that you were building, or was it like the chip was running some sort of software that you were interfacing with? Like what like can you speak to that? I don't want to like make you break any like non-disclosures, but like just at a really high level, like what kind of coding was that you were doing with the chip?
Right. Right. On the high level, I was working more on the top level of the chip. Mhm.
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty cool. And so the D1 chip that you were working on, that was for the autopilot program
Yeah.
that has been highly anticipated by a lot of folks that own
Yes.
Teslas, I'm sure. Um, cool. And then from there, you ended up back at Google, right? So you're currently
Yeah.
at Google doing another internship level role. Is that right?
Yes.
So tell us about this one because this one's not doing like actual software. You
Yeah.
made a switch into project management. So tell us about what that change was and why you made that change. What brought you back to Google? Like what did you like about Google that you reapplied there and so on?
Right. So my switch is actually product management, not project, and there's a
Or
difference
product.
between
Yeah,
all of
sorry.
those.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, like I said, I had always set on that I wanted to do something at the intersection of business and tech, and I
Hmm.
want to be a tech entrepreneur. And when I was going through this role on their job page, it sounded like perfect to my skills and experiences. It's usually advertised in a lot of companies as a mini CEO of the product. You own the features, you come up with new ideas. It's a lot of cross section collaboration between engineers, designers, business, strategy, everything. So it's more of an entrepreneurial role, but in a tech company. So that was really exciting, and I had actually set my eyes on this role 2 years ago, but certain reasons, I actually interviewed for this role along with my step internship, but the class size is really small. They only have like 45 people at most every year around the world, and
Wow.
the class had filled up. So last year, when it was time for conversion, so usually at the end of your Google internship, they usually ask you if you want to come back to Google either as an intern next summer or as a full timer. And since I was going to start my master's program, I was interested in the internship. And I asked them if they could utilize the interviews I had given before for the APM program that I'm highly interested in. And they were happy to do that. And I got the APM offer.
Oh wow.
Um,
So you didn't even have to interview for it. They just used your previous interviews?
Yeah, because mine was a unique case. They would not always do that. So I
Okay.
had already given all my on-site and final round interviews. The
Oh,
only
I
thing
see.
was I didn't make it to the hiring committee because right then they had filled out. So I didn't get a
Um,
reject or a review from the hiring committee,
okay, so
which
it
is
was
why
more
they were
like they
able to
put you
use
on
it.
pause. Interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder, is there an amount of time, like they'll consider those interviews for an amount of time that you can then go back, or like would it expire after like a year or 2 years or something like that?
Yeah, I've usually heard that those interview results, like, I don't know if I think this was the first time I heard that they considered my interview, but usually what people have is they go through the hiring committee and they get the offer,
Mhm.
and that itself is valid for a year.
Oh, I
But I
see.
think, yeah, that was especially during COVID. I'm not sure if they're still doing that, but it'll be good to check. It doesn't hurt asking your recruiter. They're
Mhm.
super helpful.
Yeah, definitely stay in communication with your recruiter. They will answer like so many questions for you. So, yep, awesome. So, tell us a little bit about like at a really high level, because again, we don't want to disclose anything that would get you in trouble at work. But like, what does a product manager do?
Right. So, you're responsible for coming up with new features or new direction that the product that you're working on will go. So, I'm specifically working on YouTube, and I'm in this small area of the product that I'm responsible for seeing how it will look like in the next few months, in the next 5 years, in the next 10 years. What is the
Wow.
long term vision of the project? So you come up with a product roadmap, which is immediate and then in the longer term vision. And then you work with the entire team to make that a reality. So you work with engineers to understand the technical implementation of the features you're suggesting. You work with the legal team to see if you're compliant with everything. You work with the designers to see how that will look on the front end. That's really a gist of what you do. It's basically like you're running a company, but you're actually working on some features of a project, of a product. And it is really exciting work. It is also a lot of work. It is intense because there's always something or the other coming up, but you also need to validate all the ideas you have. You also need to learn to not stick to one idea that you have. It might not always be the best decision. It's a lot of ambiguity
Mm.
in there. You need to convince your manager, the stakeholders,
Gotcha.
key leadership, everyone.
So you don't get to just build anything you want. You still got to go through the process of like
Yeah.
suggesting like, hey, what if we did this, and then like getting some buy-in and like getting sort of
Yeah.
traction, as we might call it, like actually getting people interested in like, oh yeah, that's kind of the
Yeah,
direction that we
everything
want
has
to
to
go.
be justifiable.
Gotcha. Awesome. Help, buddy. Appreciate the follow. Thanks for that. Give you some like lessons, some sort of audio playback. So appreciate the new follows. Um, we are chatting with Sakshi Rambhia from a lot of really cool internships and a lot of really cool background. And I'll be periodically dropping her LinkedIn profile in chat kind of as we go. Awesome. So tell us a little bit. So when I go look at your LinkedIn program or profile, you've got something on here called Scholarship Track, and you're listed as a founder. So tell us a little bit about what Scholarship Track is.
Right. For my college education, I applied to a bunch of scholarships and received scholarships from Google, from Anita Bjork, from Palantir, Nutanix, which really helped me fund my education.
Mm.
And when I posted about the first, like the Google scholarship online, and I got a lot of requests of people asking, how did I know about it? What was the application like? So I realized these are the problems even I faced. Like there's no specific place that tells you when these applications come live. All the scholarship directories you look online are a bunch of information, and half of them have expired like 6 years ago. The others are opening in the next 5 months. You really don't know when they are live.
Mm.
And you also don't know like how to stand out in these applications, what they're looking for. We see a lot of resources online for admissions essays, but we don't really know how to get these scholarships. So I thought, okay, let me help these people at once. I started a blog helping people understand what to put in your essays. I connected with a fellow other scholars and asked them if they would be open to share their experience. So I collected their experience in Google Form and really put out a blog with that. And that blew up, In 3 days, I
Hmm.
got 300,000 views. So I was like, okay,
Wow.
there's like a real demand for this. This is the blog, as you can see. It
Hmm.
covers various things now. Apart from scholarships, we also started covering internships because there was a lot of demand for that. Like these are general student problems, anybody in
Right.
university is concerned about either financial aid or internships. So we cover both. And we really expanded. We got Facebook recruiter to come and do a live Q&A. People, about 5,000 people attended the live stream, and they were asking questions live to the recruiter. You don't really see that unless you're attending a conference or in a part of a special invite somewhere, but this was bringing something live on YouTube to people for free, and they could ask
Mhm.
questions to recruiters. So people really liked all of that, and we got a lot of traction. So we introduced new programs like mentorship, resume reviews from people who are working in FANG companies. Occasionally, we also have a referral database of people willing to provide referrals. So a lot of programs geared towards students to help them make the most of their college life. Of course, our primary aim is scholarships, so we send out a weekly newsletter of scholarships that are live. We post daily if we come across any scholarships that have opened up. So I would recommend checking our social media, our LinkedIn and Instagram, where we post daily whatever fellowships or scholarships that we come across. And yeah, that is basically about scholarship track. It's geared towards making opportunities accessible to students.
Awesome. And you've got a whole LinkedIn page. You've got a Discord server where people can come and ask questions. Do you have like a community forum as well, or do you use Discord for like community forum?
Yeah, we use Discord.
Yep. Awesome. No, this is fantastic. I love when people like kind of get together and like put a bunch of resources together to share that knowledge. My whole tagline on this channel is like share what you know and we all win. And I think this is a great example of like just people dropping in, sharing what they know so that other people can succeed. I think that that's fantastic. Very cool. That's very awesome. So how long has that been up and running? Looks like
About 2 years now.
okay, 2 years. Awesome. And then how involved are you on a regular basis with that? Like do you continually develop that? Like did you build out the website, or like what was your involvement in actually like putting that website together and like the content and things like that? Or do you use like a CMS to track all that kind of stuff?
Now, so I was like pretty involved in all of the building out process. I actually had a team of volunteers, a small team, when we were still small.
Mhm.
And then we grew to 65 volunteers.
Wow.
So the small team of volunteers then became team leads that then handled their own teams. So that is really like an org structure we built out. And I was involved with the website team for having the website set up, with the content team that is responsible for curating, writing, and scheduling articles. Then there's a social media team that is responsible for putting all the content out there on social media. So that's like any other
That's really
community.
great. That's so cool. Good stuff. Good stuff. And you've got like a newsletter. People can subscribe to the blog via email. So when you publish something, they get it in email. You're on all the social channels. You're on like Instagram and Pinterest, and you're on Reddit, like the whole bit. So yeah, you're kind of all over the place. Now I noticed you've also got a YouTube channel. So that's where you do the YouTube stuff as well.
Yes, the live Q&As.
Okay. Awesome. Cool. Let me just grab that link and I'll drop that in the chat here for folks as well. That's pretty cool that you've got a lot of live sessions and stuff on there, and just finding folks to come on a live stream like this and just share their experience. I think is really fantastic. It's something that I've been not doing as much of since the spring, but I've started now having regular guests. I think we've got every Sunday booked through September now with folks coming on the live stream, and like every other Thursday, I'm going to have a guest on here as well. And we're doing everything from resume reviews to LinkedIn reviews to just chatting about like what was your journey into tech, and what was it like getting these internship roles and so on. At a really high level, could you give us some ideas around, so you've been at Google, you've been at Facebook, or sorry, Google, Microsoft, and Tesla. Um, at a really high level, what are they like as companies? Is it like super competitive? Are they super chill? Like, what's it like being like being an intern at these companies? Is it like really hectic all the time? Like, what's it like?
Right. So Google and Microsoft are quite similar
Mhm.
in their work aspect and culture. They have a great work-life balance, which I actually had at Tesla as well.
Mhm.
Um, they're more involved, collaborative. Collaboration is big at both Google and Microsoft.
Okay.
Um, and I think the googliness feeling is something you would know only when you join them. It's like it's understood only when you see it on the campus. I think, yeah, it's a very positive environment working at those. And the way the org structure and everything works, approvals, everything is very similar in these two companies. Whereas Tesla felt more like a startup environment, but like an
Hmm.
established startup. So it was more fast moving compared to Google and Microsoft.
Okay.
Even then, I had a great work life balance. I was taking 2 8 hours a day, and my manager encouraged it. So that was also nice. Yeah, I think that's the key difference. Tesla was more startup like, and Google and Microsoft are like old parent companies
Yeah.
type. It really depends on what excites you and what is the kind of work environment you prefer.
Interesting. How flexible are these companies? So, I mean, obviously during the pandemic, you were 100% remote. But how
Mhm.
flexible are the companies nowadays with, can I work remote or do I have to be on campus? Like, what are companies doing in that regard?
Right. So, I don't know about Microsoft anymore because I worked only during the pandemic. Google is hybrid work. Um, you work 3 days in office, 2 days at home. But when you have really special circumstances, like the past 3 weeks, I was on a trip to India because I had some family emergency, and they were really supportive with that. They gave me the permission. My manager was
Hmm.
supportive. They worked out a work timing as well so that I don't have to stay up all night.
Yeah.
So that was really good to see how flexible they are. And actually, the same with Tesla. I don't know what is the difference after the recent policy changes of
Hmm.
coming to work at least 40 hours. So I'm not sure I can comment about that.
Yeah.
But before that, it was pretty flexible.
Yeah. That's nice. Yeah. Companies, like it's interesting watching, especially the big companies, trying to figure out like, do we have people come back? Do we let them stay remote? Do we do some kind of hybrid? Do we let them pick? Do we pick? Like, do you get to work remote Mondays and Fridays, but Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday you come to the office? Like, it's interesting watching companies kind of struggle a little bit with, we just had everybody do their job just fine for 2 years. Like, why now suddenly do we have to go back to the office? Like, I'm perfectly comfortable. Me and all my blinky lights and like my nice comfy chair. Like, do I have to get in the car and like drive and like go sit in an office with a less comfortable chair? Like, it's interesting watching these companies try to figure out like what's gonna work. But like, I get why being in an office is helpful because you can have impromptu conversation. You can just kind of like spin around in your chair and be like, "Hey, Sakshi, I'm having problems with this part of my code. Can you come have a look?" Where if we're
Right.
working remote, it's like I got to send you a message on Slack or something. I got to wait for you to respond, and then we got to figure out like what time can we do a phone call, and so it delays
Mhm.
things if I'm trying to like figure out a bug right now. So it's interesting how there are benefits definitely to being at an office, but is it required like all the time? Like, I'm a little bit surprised that there aren't more um, like collaborative tools aside from like, hey, I'm just gonna have this Zoom call running all day long, and if you need to drop in and ask me a question, you can drop in and ask me a question. It'd be similar to like wandering around an office and just be like, okay, well, I'm gonna go check out, I'm gonna go join Ian's Zoom call, but then you might be in the middle of someone else's conversation, and um, it would be interesting to see more like collaborative tools like that where um,
Mhm.
when I was a software teacher for 4 years, and we were evaluating during the pandemic this software that it looked like an old 8-bit video game where you have a little avatar and you're kind of walking around a map, and you could actually design out the map to look like whatever your office used to look like. And what was interesting is when your avatar approached someone else, the microphone audio level would start to increase, or the audio level that you would hear would start to increase, similar to how if you're across the room and I start walking across the room, I hear more and more of your conversation. And so as you move your avatar around this map towards other people, you would start to hear their conversation and go, oh, that's a conversation I don't need to hear. And you can like literally walk your personal way on the map. It's like, why hasn't that kind of stuff taken off? Like that kind of stuff makes for a really interesting collaborative kind of thing. What do you think is going to happen as far as like working remote and being like on a campus or like at a business office, like in the coming months or in the coming year? Like, what do you think will happen there?
I think people will get more flexibility. Like, there's always both kinds of people that want to work in the office and that
Mm.
don't want to work in the office.
Right.
So I think companies might gear towards giving flexibility to those who don't want to work, or, working out certain ways, say these many months or in a year or something, you might have to work from here, and the others you're free to wander.
Yeah.
Um, I think, but overall, I generally do see a lot more flexibility coming, especially now that we see a few countries making it a legal right to
Hmm.
work remotely. Uh, Definitely, there is a change coming.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Um, yeah, just looking through some of your other LinkedIn profiles. So you're also part of Major League Hackers, which is interesting. I know a couple of folks that are that were involved in getting MLH up and running. You've done some really, really cool stuff. Yeah, you've got like just a ton of stuff on your LinkedIn. So what would you recommend as far as um, like building out a LinkedIn profile specifically? Because if we go look at your LinkedIn, obviously the first couple things that we see are like your internship experiences, but you actually don't actually describe very much. You just have like the brand of like, I had an internship at Microsoft, I had an internship at Google, I had an internship at Tesla, where you have like one line description. It's like, that's probably enough for a lot of employers to go like, hey, we want to talk to you. But if you don't have like big brand name types of internships or experiences, what would you recommend people have on their LinkedIn profile to really stand out to these recruiters?
Right. So if you scroll past the first 4 or 5 experience from big brand names, you'll see I actually have
And you
long
start getting very
descriptions,
descriptive. Yeah.
long descriptions and documents attached to what I did. So it's actually more a matter of confidentiality with these big internships,
Sure.
that I don't have a lot of information. But I would definitely recommend putting out good description of what your project was, what you were working on, what problem you were trying to solve, and the impact that you have. And if it was something technical, then what are the technologies you use? These 4 things I would definitely recommend putting it out there. And like I said, whatever you include in your resume, which is your on campus work or any other job that you had, but which is relevant to the kind of roles you're looking for. So if you worked as a server somewhere, I am not discouraging that. I was actually helping my family business as a server at some point while they were up and
Cool.
running. But I would just not put that on my LinkedIn profile because I'm looking for more developer or product manager roles. So I would
Okay.
only put, like, filter out those experiences and put them. um, Also, I would recommend filling out all the relevant sections. So, if you've had any awards and achievements, if you're in the dean's list, the president's list, you received some National Science Award, put them. But limit them to the past 4 or 5 years. Don't write about a dancing competition you won in the fourth grade. Definitely not recommended. But other than that, if you have publications, that's great.
One thing that I do tell people is like if you've got some kind of experience that is relevant to a company that you're targeting, then by all means put it on there. So like, I won an award
Mhm.
for being in Taekwondo, way back in the like eighth grade or something. I placed fifth at a national competition in Canada. And, to me, that felt pretty good, but like that's highly irrelevant to like every company I've ever applied to. But if I were applying for a role that had something to do with Taekwondo,
Yeah,
I
of
would
course.
actually list that because it's relevant to the company. They would see like, oh,
Yeah.
that's. And so, yes, I agree very much. Don't put irrelevant things on there. And a common piece of advice that I give on the channel is make a really big resume, put everything on it, and use that kind of like as a main copy. But when you go apply for a job, trim away everything that company's not going to care about so that they only see what's relevant to them. So you're going to take away the technologies and the projects and so on that they're not going to care about so that you can get it back down to that one-page resume of just the things that they are going to care about. And then you can filter out all these other things that aren't necessary.
I actually want to give an example to what you just said. So I was applying to this marketing company. I worked at a marketing related startup last year. It's on my profile. It's called Audience Genomics. So it was a software role. So ideally, I would put all the software related experiences I've had. But for this particular role, I also included my marketing and digital marketing experience. Why? Because
Mm.
it's a marketing company and it
Sure.
actually helped me stand out that they had a developer that also understood a marketer's side, their perspective, and they
Right.
understand the key concepts in marketing. So that really helped me. And I think that also is coming together right now when I'm working on YouTube, specifically YouTube ads. So uh, it's always like you have to always, that is what they tell you, like tailor your resume to the job you're applying to.
Hmm. Yeah, for sure. Awesome. So, what other things would you recommend to people to really sort of stand out to these companies? So, we talked a little bit about just like having some passion projects and so on. Let's discuss the inevitable elephant in the room of doing leak code challenges and so on, because a lot of people think that in order to get a job at these FANG companies, you got to grind leak code and do like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these problems. What would you say are like the top preparation tips for whether it's an internship role or just an entry level kind of role at these companies? What are some really like sort of best practices or tips that you would say about preparing for those kinds of interviews?
Right. So I absolutely recommend this book called Cracking the Coding Interview.
Mhm.
It's good to get started and understand how the interview process works and what are some of the key questions you should know from every data structure that is there. And then, yeah, my recommendation is only lead code. Now I see there are more platforms like Algo Expert or something.
Mhm.
Um, you do not need to grind thousands of questions in there. What you need to do is understand how to solve these problems. So, a lot of these problems have a key pattern. So, if you understand one particular pattern, say, for example, two pointers, you might not have context to what I'm saying right now immediately. But if you're looking into solving lead code, I would say understand how a particular type of problem is solved, and you'll be
Mhm.
able to solve all the problems that are similar to it with
Right.
a little bit of difference. So it is really important to understand how every data structure and everything works and what are the pros and cons of using. So when you're interviewing, your interviewer will ask, okay, this takes O1 space and O1 time, but what if we don't care about the timing, but we want to reduce the space constraint because we don't have so much memory? So then you'll think about immediately a different data structure that helps you with, you know, something like that. And it is really good habit to understand all these data structures, their pros and cons, the time complexity for all the basic searching and sorting algorithms. And then you're like fine when you delve into lead code or any of these. What you really need to do is be consistent. um, that is the most important tip I can give you. If you solve one or two problems today, that get discouraged and then don't touch it for a month, it's not going to work.
Gotcha.
I'm pretty sure you're going to get discouraged. I did as well. It took me, I don't know how many hours to solve an easy problem. That was my first problem. But once you get the hang of it, I promise you it gets better. Just be accountable, be consistent. That's my number one tip. And it also
Mm.
helped me to have a lead code buddy of sorts. So both of us would do certain problems together, not like pair programming at our own time, but then we would go and discuss. Like if I was stuck on something I didn't understand, he would be there to explain if he was stuck. So that really helped.
Hmm.
Um,
Nice.
mhm.
Yeah, I like that strategy because it really does come down to like how do we solve these kinds of problems. Last summer, we actually interviewed Sean Prashad, who put together a really great website, and I'll drop that link in here as well. But I dropped a
Mm-hmm.
link in chat called Big O Cheat Sheet that I really like. Um, but this guy Sean, he basically curated a whole bunch of other people's leak code lists into a really nice interface where you can narrow it down by the pattern of the problem, but also the difficulty level as well as like the top companies. And so you can say like, show me all the DFS problems that Apple's going to ask at a medium level, and they're not going to ask you those exact questions, of course, but you know it'll give you an idea of like what you can go study to at least prepare for that type of interview problem. And then I also pasted a link to some videos that I made on YouTube about working through leak code problems for exactly what Sakshi was just recommending, like understanding what is the strategy behind how to solve that pattern of problem. How do we solve, heap problems? How do we solve depth first search problems? How do we solve, graph problems or, sorting algorithms and so on? But also understanding what are the data structures behind them, because sometimes choosing the wrong data structure is going to increase your time complexity significantly, where if you choose a hash over an array, it's like, well, yeah, you can solve it that way, but you're also using a lot more memory because of how a hash actually works. It's an array of
Mm-hmm.
linked lists under the hood, and if you don't understand that, then yeah, your time complexity might be better, but your space complexity just blew up, like as far as like the overall total memory usage that you're using. And so having a really good understanding of what are those data structures and how are they used, what are they good for, what are they not good for, those kinds of things are all going to be really critical to get through these interviews. Cooter Thug and Dan Eboy, appreciate the follows, thank you for those. And Whip, good to see you in chat as well. So yeah, so I dropped a link to Sean Prashad's leak code thing in there, as well as Big O cheat sheet. So Big O cheat sheet, what I like about that, let me switch over to that screen here for a sec. What I like about this one is, it obviously draws out the chart of the Big O complexities, but then it also gives you this grid of the most common data structures, as well as like how long does it, like what's the time complexity of searching through it, inserting, deleting it, and so on, both from an average and worst case scenario. Now, most of the time when we talk about Big O, we're going to be talking about worst case scenarios, but you don't have to memorize everything on this grid. Usually what I tell people is like, go click on these links, because these links are going to take you over to Wikipedia, where you're going to learn everything and more that you ever wanted or needed to know about, like how does a hash table actually work. And usually what I tell people is like, you don't have to memorize everything on this page either, but if you can kind of, get out of this, like, how is this used? Where is this most commonly used? What is it good for? And what is it not going to be good for? If you can come up with those 3 bits of information for each of those data structures, that's really going to get you through a lot of these types of interviews where they say like, hey, when would you use a linked list over an array? Well, if I have to insert something in the middle of the array, it's more memory efficient to use a linked list. Plus, a linked list doesn't have to be contiguous in memory. It doesn't have to be all next to each other in memory. They can be kind of all over the place. But the downside is you can't just jump to a particular position in a linked list. You have to like traverse through the linked list to get to, say, the 18th thing in the list. And so that's the downside of using a linked list. So all of these data structures have sort of pros and cons, and understanding what those benefits and sort of deficiencies are about them are going to be really important to know. And then there's links on here, of course, to cracking the coding interview and so on. And you can also order like posters and so on from their platform of like the grid and so on. Epicat says in chat, leak code cards are a good way to get practice and learn different data structures as well. Yep, I agree. Hey Zooey, good to see you in chat as well. So we're having a chat with Sakshi Rambhia, who just graduated with a computer science degree and getting ready for a master's degree, and has had some really cool internships at some really big FANG companies. And so we're just hearing from her experience, how she got into tech and the kinds of things that she's been building and the kinds of projects and involvement and so on, and how you really started early, like you were in high school, like building all these things out. So tell us a little bit, like as a high school student, trying to work on things like Shopify and stuff like that, like how did you convince people to sort of let you do like contract work and freelance work when you're just a high school student? Like, did they know you were a high school student when you were doing this?
So it was definitely difficult to convince people, and I learned my lesson the hard way when they would make mean comments. Like, I'd not want to get this stuff done from someone who looks like they're in middle school or high school. So after that, one thing that helped was I really had faith in my skills. I did not just dive into freelancing and doing the stuff. I took some months to actually learn about the stuff, watch tutorials, and practice 12, 16 hours a day and really build
Wow.
my skills first. And then I delved into it. So what I did was I would gain people's trust. One thing I did was my main prospecting was through Facebook groups, and I had a profile picture with my mother, so they couldn't really tell who was the one prospecting.
Nice.
Uh, and that was really sneaky, but anyway, when I would get on an audio call with them. I would never do video, so they couldn't see. Even though my voice would still give it away, but by then I would already have that trust. Like, I would not try to sell them directly. I would just try to help them with whatever problem they were facing, share some knowledge, give some genuine insights and recommendations without trying to sell anything. I would actually even recommend them to different platforms and different services. And when they had trusted me, they were the ones who would ask me like, "Hey, do you by chance happen to do this?" And I'd be like, "Great, yes, I do," and then send them my packages or whatever that was.
Hmm. Interesting. With those kinds of things, like I'm thinking with Shopify platforms where you can almost build it like a template kind of thing and just reapply that template over and over
Yeah.
again. Like, were you doing that kind of stuff where you would design it and develop it one time and then like reuse that and sort of sell that, or was everything like 100% custom every time?
Yeah, everything was 100% custom.
Hmm.
There are templates out there, of course, but these templates need to be customized for the company and what they're selling. So I couldn't use something I built for an auto store for a beauty store, you know?
Fair. Yeah.
Uh, mhm.
So were you doing the actual visual design as well, or were you like did you have someone else doing the visual design and you were doing the programming for it, or were you doing a bit of both?
I was doing both.
You're doing both. Wow.
Mhm.
It's always amazing to me, like people that can use both halves of their brain. Like I'm not like I have creative ideas, but I'm not a very creative like visual person. Like I can kind of draw, but it takes me a really long time. But like I don't have good like, oh, I'm gonna go use this color palette, and I just intuitively know to use these kinds of colors. Like I've got to go look up like color palette builders and things like that to know like what colors actually work together and stuff like that. I just I took some visual design classes in high school and actually worked some like high school equivalent of internships at a couple of like print shops where you go in and you lay out and design things to actually like get printed on paper and so on. And that was a lot of fun back then, but I realized pretty quickly like I don't have a lot of design skill, but I'm okay with that. On the technical side, I can be very creative with how I technically create a solution with programming or something like that. And so it makes it much easier for me to kind of think about and design and work through that way, and let other people worry about stuff. And so I often joke like, I'll make it work, you make it pretty, and we'll work together on these things. So let me get the functionality of it up and running. Let me get that stuff working, and then we'll go from there. So good times. Cool. Well, if other folks have questions for Sakshi or myself, or just general interview prep, career advancement, things like that, please drop that stuff in chat as well. We'll definitely take your questions. We don't mean for this just to be a straight up interview. If you've got questions or comments and things that you want to ask, by all means, drop that in chat as well, and we'll go through that. Excuse me. Sorry about that. All right. One of my kids is watching YouTube and started blasting the video. And the audio is starting to pick up on my microphone a little bit. So, cool. So yeah. So if you've got questions, that would be great. If not, That's all right. So Jewel4N says, I just got here. Be watching the video for sure. Yeah. So it's really great kind of hearing from Sakshi about your background and the kinds of projects and things like that you've been a part of. So what's next? So you mentioned right before the call that you're getting into a master's program. So tell us a little bit about that. Like what's next in your career path?
Right. So I was actually going to start a master's program at Berkeley starting fall up until
Hmm.
last week. Now I've had a change of plans, so I'm
Okay.
going to work on something for like by myself, working on a few startup ideas,
Oh,
or
cool. Oh, awesome.
probably get back into the agency space, not just freelancing. Let's see what it looks like, but I'm definitely going to be like self-employed for quite a bit until
Oh,
I
very
start
cool.
at
Okay.
one of the companies again.
Awesome. Well, cool. Well, congrats on that. It's always fun being your own boss. I did some freelance work for a number of years in California. And it's excuse me. It's a lot of fun planning out what you want to do. And most of my career has been working at startups as well. So it's a little chaotic sometimes. It's a lot of work,
Mhm,
building a startup, but it's very rewarding. Like being your own boss is really fantastic, and the ultimate in
mhm.
flexibility and things like that. So yeah, awesome. Um, cool. I think we'll wrap up. We'll wrap up there. I think. So Shakti, appreciate your time today. Thank you so much for being part of the stream and kind of sharing a bit about your background. It's always interesting to hear like what kinds of projects really stand out to these big companies, especially FANG companies. Stick around on the chat. I think we'll keep streaming for a little while. If other folks have questions, we'll take a different sort of direction on the stream. So stay here and hang out with us, but we'll let Sakshi go and have her day. But yeah, it's really interesting to hear about like what the interview style is like, and what it's like to apply for these kinds of roles. Dealing with rejection is hard. Do you have any tips? Because you mentioned you were getting like literally hundreds of rejections from applying for all these jobs. Do you have any tips for like mental health and just taking care of like rejection as part of the process, but like how do you not take it personally when you keep getting that many rejections?
I won't lie, my mental health was for a toss.
Mm.
I wasn't optimistic all the while, so um, it does happen. But I will say that if you believe in your skills and you have that end goal set, and for me, that looked like getting these one of these big tech internships. I knew I was going to do it. If not next this year, then I'm going to better myself, prepare myself better for the next year. So I knew like ultimately I was going to land. It's more of the belief and the mindset that you have.
Mm.
So I would really encourage you to keep reminding yourself that and believing in your broader goal for the long term and working towards it. Um, Whenever you get a rejection, it's good to talk to someone about it, or do something that makes you happy, whether it's painting. For me, it's like going on some really long walks. Uh, do something that takes your mind off it for a bit, and then get back to the grind.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah, it's tough. Like we hear from folks on the stream quite a bit. Like, hey, I'm trying to get that first job in tech, and like nobody's hiring, and I'm getting rejected, or
Mhm.
they're getting ghosted, and it's tough, and it's hard just to give people advice of like, oh, don't take it personally. It's like, well, you're the person, you're
Yeah,
applying for the job, and you're not getting the job. Like, how can you not take that personally?
of
That
course.
can be really tough, and we've had folks on the stream in the past. Like last summer, we had Martin McGovern and Suchit Parikh on the stream where we were talking about like mental health and how we need to normalize talking about mental health more, especially in the tech industry, because it can be hard, especially getting jobs where there's like huge numbers of layoffs or slowdowns. Like Google just announced that they're doing a hiring slowdown for the rest of the year. Not that they're pausing it completely, but they're slowing it down, and just the impact that that has on the overall industry of like, well, gosh, if the FANG companies aren't hiring, then maybe we shouldn't be hiring, and we kind of see this trickle effect happening. But yeah, it'll be interesting to kind of see what happens there. So Shakshi, please keep in touch with us. I'd love to have you back on the stream at some point and hear a little bit about like what's it like getting into your startup realm and getting into freelancing or building out an agency or things like that. Definitely go check out Scholarship Track, everybody, and give Sakshi a follow on LinkedIn. I'll post all those links in the video description as well, and we'll get those reposted in the chat here pretty soon. But Sakshi, thank you so much for spending some time with us today. Really appreciated hearing your perspectives and kind of about your background, and look forward to seeing what else you do in the future.
Sure, absolutely. Feel free to connect anyone in the audience as well. If you have any more follow-up questions, feel free to reach out. Well,
Yep,
thank you for
awesome.
having me.
All right. Thanks, Sakshi. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
All right. Well, let's go over to this screen over here. Awesome. Well, that was really cool. It was really cool to have Sakshi on the stream. So yeah, really appreciate that she was willing to spend some time. I was really curious to hear like what those internship interviews were like and what it was like, especially working at those big tech companies. Sometimes people are like, oh, I have to go work at a big tech company in order to be successful. And we've heard from others that that's not necessarily the case. But in Sakshi's, scenario, she actually had a lot of internships, Google, Microsoft, Tesla, back at Google again, and a lot of other very varied experience. So I wanted to have her on the stream just to hear a little bit about like what was that experience like, and what those interviews were like, and how she got into product management, what that was like, and so on. So I think we'll just kind of like hang out for a little bit. If other folks have questions, let me just go change the title over here for the stream. But yeah, we'll stay hanging out if other folks have questions and stuff going on. Daddy Wazzy, I agree. Yeah, very sharp young lady. It's going to be really cool to see what she gets into in the future. Like a lot of the stuff, like she couldn't go into a lot of detail because of non-disclosures and things like that as far as like what she was building. But the fact that she's been building on YouTube and building with AI stuff with Tesla and stuff like that, like the little bit that she was able to talk about, it's going to be really cool to kind of follow her career and see what she's up to. So live career prep and there, let's do career advancement advice, interview prep, resume reviews, all that good stuff. Cool. Let me get that title changed over there. Cool. Hey Chad Dev, good to see you as well. She's been around some great companies. Yeah, I agree. Would have liked to cut the music for the interview part, a little distracting. Oh, okay. That's good to know. Thanks for the feedback. Or at least turn the volume down a little bit. Okay. Yep, that's good to know. I appreciate hearing that feedback. I'm always a little curious about like audio levels and stuff like that. So absolutely open to feedback anytime. If you've got any feedback on the stream of like the music is too loud or your microphone's too quiet or anything like that, drop that in chat at any time. I'm happy to make adjustments on the fly. I'm no stranger to getting feedback and taking feedback. I'm absolutely happy to hear from folks. If there's anything about the stream that you'd like to kind of explore doing differently, I'm absolutely open to that. So appreciate that feedback. Chedev, thank you for that. Epicat says, I don't mind getting rejections after the initial applications, but I think making it all the way through the interview process and then getting rejected hurts. Yeah, I agree. You're waiting to hear back from a job you did a final round with, trying hard to mentally move on and prepare for rejection. Yeah, so let me get her contact info back in here again. So there's her LinkedIn. And from her LinkedIn, you can go find the Scholarship Track website. And it was just, I think, scholarshiptrack.org, which is really great. I'm going to start getting my kids looking at that. My oldest is going into 8th grade, and we're already chatting with him about, scholarships and college ideas and things like that, like way early. Trying to think through, like, let's go find all the really cool, like, really unique scholarships and things like that you could apply to for playing banjo and stuff like that, because he plays banjo. It's like, I'm sure somebody somewhere has like, a $500 scholarship for like, banjo player, come to our school kind of thing. So maybe you should try and get someone from 100 devs that got a job from the last cohort. I've been trying, Jewel. Honestly, I've really been trying. I've been trying to reach out to folks on 100 devs. Some reason somehow, and it was never explained why, I was on their Discord community and I got kicked out of their Discord community. I was offering to help people with resumes, and I think I dropped a link to the live stream because I was live streaming. And next thing I know, I'm not in their Discord community, and I can't rejoin the Discord community. I've been trying to reach out to different people in the 100 devs saying, can somebody please have a moderator DM me on Discord and like let me know how I can get back in, because I genuinely want to help people out. And I want to have people on the stream, and nobody's talking to me. So I don't know if like I've been blacklisted somehow, but I mean, I'm just here to help people out, and I don't know what I did. Like I try to be really respectful of other people's Discord communities and not like over promote. Like I wasn't dropping links in there every time I was streaming. Like I literally, I think I posted like maybe 3 or 4 messages total in their whole Discord. And next thing I know, I'm not in their Discord community anymore. So I would love to know what happened. What's my Discord name? Yeah, I'll send that over. It's just Ian Douglas 736. I use the same username over there, but I'll get you the full username here, because there's a number on it as well. Let's see. Now I can't find it. Where's my profile? Well, how about I do this? I'll drop the link to Discord. You can find me on my Discord community, and then from there you can find... oh, there it is. Nope, that's not it either. It won't actually tell me my full like Discord username with the number. I guess this... Yeah, here we go. So there's my actual Discord username with the number or whatever attached. So if that helps, I would love to hear from somebody. Like literally have anybody in their Discord community like contact me and let me know what happened, because I would love to know why I got kicked out of their Discord community, because I'm literally like, I'm giving away tons of free help, tons of free perspective. I want to have people on the stream. I want to help people out. I've tried reaching out to several people. I've tried reaching out to Leon a couple of times saying like, hey, I want to mentor. I want to help people out with the career side of it. And I get nothing. I get no response from anybody. So yeah, I don't know if I've just like ticked somebody off, or if I'm like, if they think I'm abusing the 100 devs like hashtag. Like I would love to just hear from them, like why, like what happened. Like I'm literally just here to help people out. We've been building our own community here and growing a community. But yeah, I would love to have people on the stream. I've actually been saying on the stream, like if you've been part of 100 devs and you got a job because of 100 devs, I want to have you as a guest on my stream. I got lots of Thursday night slots open. I will make a Thursday night slot open where we can discuss that. Speaking of Thursday night, this Thursday I'm not going to be streaming. I've got a work event that I'm going to be going to. And so I might try to do a stream some other evening. Let me go check my calendar here real quick. I may try and see if I can squeeze in a stream some other night this week where we can do our 1,000 follower giveaway. Right now, my Monday and Tuesday are open. I have no mock interviews, but Thursday and Friday are going to be busy. So I'm trying to figure out when I can do a live stream where we can do our 1,000 follower giveaway, because we hit 1,000 followers here on Twitch. We also hit our 1-year anniversary, and so we got kind of a double celebration going on. And so I want to do some kind of giveaway. So we were talking about like what kinds of prizes could it be, and we've had some really interesting stuff come in from that. So let me go over to this screen. Or the screen. Let me go grab my let me go get the browser window again here. Cool. So a couple of ideas that we've had here. So we were looking at some nano leaf triangle kits. They've got like little small starter kits. Someone was also mentioning like some sort of mechanical keyboard like starter kit. If you want to get started with a mechanical keyboard. Govey also has like a bunch of their RGB lights. So I use Govey lights like here on the back of the desk, as well as the one up on the ceiling is now it's all controllable over IoT and Bluetooth. The Nano Leaf, of course, are controlled over IoT API. And then Dan Moore reached out and said, hey, I'm going to donate a copy of my book, Letters to a New Developer, as part of that. And so Dan has offered a copy of his book as well. which I super appreciate. Dan's an amazing guy. We've had him on the stream a couple of times now, and just chat about his perspectives and ideas about how to get a job in tech. And his blog is fantastic. You definitely need to go check that out. Let me drop a link in chat for that. So Dan has a ton of really cool blog articles on here of like things he wished he knew as a new developer. So he's got tons and tons of content on here, and he basically wrote a book about it. And you know, every chapter in the book is basically a letter that he had that either he wrote or he had other people help contribute to his book about what they wish they knew when they were getting into the tech industry. So it's a fantastic book. I have a copy of it. Every time I see Dan, I'm like, oh, I meant to bring the book because I want him to autograph it for me. And one of these days I'll remember it. So I've been to like 3 events with Dan, and like just in the past year, I think, and I keep forgetting the book every single time. And he's local, so one of these days I might just call him up and say, hey, like, let's go grab a coffee. So Owen Code says, I'm not part of 100 devs. I'm doing a different online bootcamp. So yeah, I mean, I'm like, if you're part of a bootcamp and you're going through a job hunt or you've gotten a job, I would love to have you on the stream as well. So again, I want to have like a lot of perspectives here about what has been your experience with getting a job, getting in the interview sort of scenarios and in the ring, so to speak. Like, what are you going through in these interviews? So yeah, I'm totally open to that. You can send me direct messages. I'm on all these social platforms, so you can go check out all these links here, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram. You can go follow me on any of those and send me direct messages on any of those. I don't really post very much on Instagram, but I am on there. You can send me messages as well as on the Discord community. I pasted that link up above as well. You can go check out Discord. If you've got questions, you can send me those questions on any of those platforms. I will answer you on that platform. I may bring the question over to the Discord community where I have an anonymous questions channel, and I may like remove the context. I'm definitely going to remove your name out of it, you know, we'll address some of those from time to time as well as if you just want to ask an anonymous question. Here's a little note here, so you can send a whisper to the bot, and it will replay your question in chat. So as long as it's not identifying who you are, then you can send a whisper to the bot and it'll show up in chat as well. So all right, let's see what else is going on today. So let me go back over here. So yeah, so we've got a handful of gift ideas, and so what I'm thinking for the giveaway is we're going to come up with some kind of budget for it, and then we're going to do some kind of drawing. So I need to figure out how I want to do the giveaway, how people are going to enter. I might do like an Airtable form or something like that, so it, you know, people don't have to be on the live stream in order to enter, because my current giveaway bot, you have to be on the stream and you have to chat and so on, and I don't necessarily want to do that. At the same time, I've also been kind of tracking like who's been following me for, you know, periods of time, and who's been following me with audience, you know, participation and stuff like that. I've had like little bots running and scraping all that kind of data in the background as far as like who's been following me and for how long and things like that. So part of me is thinking I might dig into that database a little bit too and see what I can get as far as statistics go. But yeah, we've got a little over 1,000 followers now, which has been fantastic. How long have I been doing these streams? Oh, amazing, Bob. I've been streaming now just over a year. July 8th was my 1-year anniversary, and it's what, the 17th now, so a year and a week and a bit. So yeah, it's been fun, and I've typically been streaming twice a week. I've had like a couple of breaks now and then. Like I had shoulder surgery a year ago as well, so at the end of July last year I took like a couple of streams off just because I was on pain meds and I wasn't going to be very coherent, but just taking little breaks, you know, here and there. But I've tried streaming at least once a week. Through the month of May, I think we streamed like 3 or 4 times a week in the month of May because we were doing our big giveaway. So I'm constantly raising money for this diversity in tech fundraiser, and we gave away a ton of money to an organization in San Francisco in the month of June. And so May was kind of like the blitz of like, can we raise $1,000 in May? And we did it, and we crushed it and then some. And so we gave that organization a bunch of money. And so now we basically reset everything, and we're basically going to be back on the fundraiser now through the end of the year. And we'll be raising money for that. And then we'll do like another big like month-long giveaway, probably the month of October, where I do some kind of like 3D printed model again. We did these articulated dragons in May, where I was printing these dragons and like giving them away on the stream, and we were giving like tons of them away. I think I gave away like 70 or so dragons between the mailing list and people on the live stream and so on. So yeah, I gave tons and tons of them away. So on the email list, if you want to go check that out, you can go check out, no, the links are over here now. You can go check out my daily email series. I've got a new version of the email series ready to go. And so I want to talk about that a little bit. So I had a number of people sign up for the beta, but only like 2 people gave me feedback on it. So go check out this link for me real quick. If you want to click on this link, it's techinterview.guide/daily-email-series. And then add a question mark, beta equals yes. And this is going to get you into the beta sign up. Now, I'm not actually sending the newsletters yet, but I've got a lot of the content prepared and ready to go. But what I'm curious about is if you can go follow that link and actually sign up and go through the process of the beta sign up. I really want to get some user experience feedback as far as like, does it feel intuitive? Does it feel okay? So go sign up on this one. It's going to send you an email to confirm that you do want to subscribe. And when you click on that link, it should take you back to a screen that lets you then subscribe to the actual newsletters. So when you click on that link, it's going to look something like this screen, where it's going to come in and it'll take a minute to load because it's like going and fetching all your data. So it'll take a minute to load, but then you can go in and you can select like which newsletter you want to be subscribed to or not. You'll also be able to specify how many days between those messages. So if you want like a general tip every day, you can set it to 1. If you want it like every 3 days, you can set it to 3. You can also specify which date you want to start getting the newsletters. So if you want to wait until like, you graduate or something like that, or if you're going to be on holidays and you want to like skip when you get the next message, you can come in here and you can set all those dates to like a future date kind of thing. Just say I want to start getting everything on July 30th, for example. You'll be able to go in and set all these individually and then hit that save button down at the bottom. Any newsletter that you check, you will get subscribed to. Anything that you uncheck, it will unsubscribe you and you'll stop getting those messages. And if you unsubscribe from all of them, it'll completely erase you from the database. So I'm curious what that experience is like for you. I think right now on here, if you unsubscribe from all of these and hit save, does that actually remove me completely? I'm trying to remember if that removes me completely. Yeah, so that removed me completely because it's not loading my details anymore. So when you unsubscribe, it like completely takes everything out. And so you won't be able to like resubscribe at that point. You'd have to go back and like, start all over again. So we just found a live bug that if you unsubscribe from everything, it wipes you out of the database completely. You notice the page didn't reload with my email address anymore. But instead what I need to do is say like, hey, that UUID code doesn't exist. Click here to like resubscribe or something and have it take you back to that sign up page. Something like that. Or just if it realizes that code's not valid or something, to like put you on here with a message, in here. So this is the kind of user experience feedback that I'm looking for. So try it out, try different combinations of things. If anything breaks, let me know. So I'm really looking for the user experience on that. And then I'm still working on some of the content as far as the technical and behavioral mailing lists are ready to go. I've got a fair number of the general tips ready to go. The preparation tips are taking a little bit longer because there's a little more work involved in that. And so I may start sending the new content for 3 of the newsletters and then the preparation newsletter because I'm still working on that content. What I'm thinking on that one is I may just send out like the first message to everybody on that one, or I may hard code everybody to like 7 days apart or something like that on the preparation one, just until I get more of the content ready to go, and then I'll like do them. But I think having people subscribed is actually going to like force me into like, oh crap, I got to like really knuckle down and like get that content written. Because I took a couple of days off from writing some content. Just I was not burning out on it, but it's a lot of work. So I wanted to take a break this past week from doing that. So Con muchas ganas, thank you for the follow, appreciate that. Give you some blinky lights and some sort of audio greeting of some sort. But yeah, welcome to the stream. Appreciate the follows. Excited for the emails. Yeah, me too. Do I have any tips on getting into game dev? So amazing, Bob. So getting into game development, there are a handful of things to take into consideration here. So first off, the gaming industry is very competitive. There's a lot of people that want to get into gaming. Most developers that I know got into development because of gaming. Like they did video gaming and they really loved, the idea of it, and that's what got them interested in building video games. There's nothing wrong with that, but there's a lot of people in that space, and so it's really hard to stand out as far as like, hey, I made something new and novel, and I want a job at your company. Gaming industry historically has been highly competitive, and because there's so many people that want to get into it, the salaries tend to be lower because it's a supply and demand kind of thing. When you've got more supply, or when you've got more demand than supply, then the salaries go up. But because there's more supply of the developers that want those kinds of jobs and the demand isn't there, then that brings the salaries down. And so you end up being highly competitive for a much lower salary than if you did other kinds of development. Now, if you want to just go get any other job in tech and do game development on the side, then that's a different story. But if you're looking for a job specifically in the gaming industry, I would say it's very competitive. It's not impossible. Like I want to be clear. Like I'm not trying to discourage you from it. If that's what your dream is and that's what you want to do, absolutely go for it. There's some really fantastic companies out there that get into gaming and so on. But there are also companies that are a little bit questionable about their business practices and things like that. So you have to be careful about where you're applying and does it really align with your values and what you want to be doing. But also know that when you get a job at these big gaming companies, you're not working on really big, like if you're brand new in the industry. So I want to be clear on this too. If you're new to the gaming industry, you're going to be doing a lot of grunt work. You're going to be doing a lot of like, hey, we need you to go like implement this texture, or we need you to go build like this one tiny little component, or somebody found a weird bug where, as you're running down the path, their foot looked a little bit crooked, go fix that bug kind of thing. Like you're not going to be working on like major features of big platform games, and you're probably not going to be starting out working on big major titles and things like that. In my experience, you don't make a lot of money in the gaming industry unless you happen to get put on what ends up being a very popular game title. And then you can say, I worked on World of Warcraft or something like that, like a really well-known, game, things like that. Just following up in chat, currently doing some game dev after work. Okay. So this is how you're going to stand out to companies, is by showing them, hey, I'm taking initiative, I'm going and learning this stuff on my own, and I want to get into this industry, and here's how I'm practicing it, and so on. Hazard, hi, thanks for the follow as well. And so you really want to figure out like what kinds of projects are going to stand out to those particular companies. If they use Unity, you're going to build some projects in Unity. If they don't use Unity, figure out what tooling they do use, build some projects with similar tools, and then really highlight in those projects, like on GitHub or wherever you're promoting those projects. This is what I did. This is how I learned it. This is why I learned it this way. You want to be really upfront about the technologies that they use and why you're specifically interested in them as a company. And so, as we mentioned when we had Sakshi on the call as well, these projects have to be pretty tailored. And those resumes absolutely have to be very tailored to the company. You want to make sure that you're going to really stand out because there are so many people applying for those jobs. You need to find some way of standing out. And what's going to stand out to them is working on customized projects that they're going to care about as a company. When we were talking with Sakshi, she was mentioning how, when you're applying for internship level roles, when you're still in university or college, you don't really have a wide variety of projects, and you don't know what kinds of teams you're necessarily going to go get put on with these internship level roles. And so you have to make a more generic resume where it's full of projects that you're just interested in. And then the companies will then try to figure out, okay, well, how do you fit in on that for us, and what does that look like, and who's whose team has space for someone like that on their team, and so on and so on, things like that. And so you really need to figure out how are you going to fit in, and build out those more generic types of resumes. But if you're applying for a gaming job, or you want to get ready to apply for a gaming job, you have to have a number of projects, use a number of technologies, use different kinds of tools, like get into Unity, get into Blender, get into, like all these different kinds of tools. Maybe build something with, other like console-based libraries like Pygame or something like that, where you can get into like just little platformers or whatever, like, little side shooters, like whatever you want to build, like what are you interested in? But those projects also have to be what they're interested in. Definitely having some games, where you can like publish a little game on the game store and get a little bit of traction, find some gaming communities where you can get some people to like sign up, try out the game, give you some feedback. It always looks good to get that kind of feedback where you can drop into a community and say, hey, like I've got this game, it's free to play, go check it out. I'm looking for feedback, and you get 100 people to download and try it out. Now you've got 100 users. It's not an enormous amount of people, but it can still really stand out to companies that you made a thing, you published it, and you've got some amount of users, using the game. And so like having any kind of quantifiable data like that is really helpful on a resume. You don't need to go make like the next Flappy Bird or anything like that to really stand out to these companies, but they do want to see that what you are building is important to them and not just your passion types of projects. So you're gonna have to understand like what kinds of tools are they using, where are they headed as a company, what kinds of projects are they building, how can you help with that? So any kind of job, this is just kind of blanket statement. When you're building out that application, you're building out that resume, you need to show them the immediate value and impact that you're gonna bring to that company. And that's going to come from having different kinds of projects and different kinds of experience and all that sort of stuff that you can bring to them to really highlight those skills. And so any kinds of programming languages that they're using, any kinds of technologies and things like that you want to build out, I think would be really helpful. You think you're on the correct path thing. That's fantastic. Yep. Awesome. Hazard High, appreciate the follow. If I didn't already give you blinky lights, I'm going to give you some blinky lights. So appreciate you dropping by as well. So yeah, appreciate all the new follows today. So yeah, we hit 1,000 people. So kind of looping back on that, kind of went off on a bit of a tangent. Hey, Breakcore, good to see you, Justin. Yeah, so hitting 1,000 users and the 1 year anniversary. So we're going to do some kind of giveaway. I'm going to try and stream. I don't know if I'm going to stream tomorrow or Tuesday. I might aim for Tuesday. We'll figure out some kind of giveaway. So what I'm thinking right now is I need to get some sort of sign up for the, need to get some kind of sign up form going where you can give me your Twitch username. I can verify that you're following me on Twitch. And then we'll figure out from there, like, how do we tie that into some sort of giveaway? So want to do a giveaway for people who are actively following. And not just people who are like, oh, you're doing a giveaway, let me give you a follow so that I can get in on the giveaway. So I might make it like a minimum, like, if you've been following me for at least a week or something like that. So maybe I'll just drop that as a blanket statement and we'll do the giveaway like a week from now. Just that way people don't feel like they're being limited. But you're in for a $25 printed solid gift card for your giveaway. Oh, I appreciate that, Justin. You don't have to do that. But I appreciate that. So Dan Moore has offered a copy of their book, but what we want to do is, so just getting back to the logistics of it, if you're in the domestic United States, what I'm thinking is we're going to come up with like a list of gift ideas, and then you will get to choose from that list. If you were chosen as a giveaway winner, you're going to get to choose from the list. If you're domestic in the United States, I will get that shipped to you. If you are outside of the United States, it's okay. I will send you like an equivalent amount of money. As a Visa gift card or something like that, or some kind of online code that you can redeem or something like that. Because shipping around the world got really expensive with those dragons. I want to be careful about overspending money for stuff like that. So, Jewel says in chat, just talk to a mod in 100 devs. Will DM me on Discord. I appreciate that. Thank you so much for reaching out. Appreciate that very much. Yeah, I just want to help people out and have folks on the stream and stuff like that. So yeah, I appreciate any kind of help connecting with them. Because I would like to do regular mentorship with them as well, and like have like workshop sessions about like building resumes and things like that, and answering questions, at least from my perspectives, and help people out in that regard. So yeah, I would love to connect with anybody over there. I've tried going through like email channels and got no response at all. I sent Leon a Twitter message a couple of months back saying like, "Hey, appreciate all the work that you're putting into this," and he said thanks, and I replied to that saying, "By the way, I'm open to helping with mentorship," and I got no response at all. And I've tried reaching out to other people who stream for 100 devs because they've got like a streaming group. And I've tried reaching out to some of them, and they're like, "Oh, we'll find out, and we'll let you know." And then I never hear back from any of them either. So yeah, so I don't know if something happened, if they just decided they don't want me on their channel helping out. I don't know. And if they really don't want me to help out, then that's fine too. I'll just continue on. But I would love to help out and mentor if I can. So imagine I thought you were just some random trying to steal their business. Yeah, but I'm not trying to steal any of their business. I mean, they're teaching people how to code, and I'm teaching people how to get jobs once they know how to code. Like, it's kind of a symbiotic relationship here. It's like the next step that they need. But if they saw your channel, all the stuff you make, I think they'd appreciate me more. Appreciate that. Thank you. So yeah, I mean, hopefully I can get in touch with them on it. So yeah, so for the giveaway, if you're in the domestic United States, I think we'll do we'll ship you like a gift idea or bundle or something for that. So Justin, if you want to like connect with me offline and we can talk logistics on that, I appreciate anything else that you want to contribute. Wasn't expecting external contributions, but Dan Moore did reach out and say like, "Hey, I'll give you a copy of the book if folks want it." I think it's a great book. No matter how far along in your career you are, you don't have to be a new developer to appreciate Dan's book and the stuff that other people have written. So yeah, so I'm trying to think of other gift ideas too, besides like lights and keyboards and things like that. I also want to like try to cater to like, hey, if you're also a streamer, like what if we got you like, like a set of these like Logitech lights or something like that. Like they're just these little lights that kind of clip over your monitor. It's just these little lights. They're not gigantic. They're not like the big giant Elgato key lights, but they're controllable, and you can make them really bright. You can like fade down the brightness. You can do all kinds of interesting controls and stuff with them. And so I've got like a panel of them now, like helping light things up around here. Because I used to have just 2 of them on my external displays, and so every time I did this, you saw like nothing but shadow on my face, and so I put a couple more right in front of me too. But koozies, everybody wants another koozie. Yeah, for sure. Let's see, building resumes, tech interviews, LinkedIn. Yep. Just having a look through chat. Looks like I missed some stuff. Regular workshops would be fantastic. I'll try reaching out. Yeah, that'd be great. Send a message on Discord. Thanks, Justin. Yep, cool. So we'll take a look at some of this stuff kind of as we go, and we'll figure out like what gift ideas we want to kind of build into that giveaway bundle, and then we'll go from there. So we'll say like anybody that's following me, like Evolved Ape who just followed a minute ago, appreciate the follow.
Welcome.
We'll figure out some way of getting that information captured. So right now I'm thinking I'll probably make like an Airtable form where I can say like, hey, if you're following me, give me your LinkedIn or give me your Twitch username, and then maybe one piece of feedback, like what's something that you've learned on the stream or something like that, just to verify that you're not just a bot, filling out a form or something like that. Like tell me something interesting about the stream or something like that, or verify the website or something like that. Like, I don't know. I need some kind of like sort of CAPTCHA kind of thing on there to keep the bots away from it. But we'll do some kind of sign up. So watch the Twitter space. You can go follow me on Twitter over here. So I'll post a link to that once I get that done. I'll try to build that out later today and get that published and get that out there for folks. And then, we'll do the giveaway draw in like a week. So next Sunday, I think we got somebody on the stream for next Sunday. Let me go look at that schedule real quick. Live streaming. Let's go back over to here. Oops, that's the daily email series, live streaming. There we go. So that was Sakshi. So next Sunday, I guess I do not have someone on the stream, but the following Thursday, I think I do. Laura Langdon's going to be on from Suborbital. And then we've got Strager from here on Twitch has expressed interest, as well as Chris, CM Griffin, has also expressed interest in being on the stream as well. So I'm trying to coordinate with them on like times. Mike Elsmore, who is also here on Twitch, but also a big giant list of other folks that want to be part of the stream that have reached out and said, I'm interested. So lots and lots of folks. So we just got to figure out like when they're going to be on and what those topics are going to be. So we're going to kind of build that out. So I'll get this stuff kind of filled out kind of as we go. And then updating the financial transparency page, I need to update that because we've raised a little bit more money than the last time I updated this. We're at like $58 plus one PayPal donation that came in. So I need to get some of that stuff updated on here for financial transparency around the diversity and tech fundraiser as well. So I'll get all that stuff updated and try to get a lot of that done throughout the day today if I can, and go from there. So yeah, so I'll get that giveaway thing started up sometime today. Got some other stuff that I want to do with family, and go ahead. Oldest is helping with chores and like making noise with garbage bags and stuff like that. It's all good. Appreciate the help, bud. Thank you. So yeah, I'll get that built up, and we'll do some fun giveaway kind of thing, and then we'll figure out like what those prizes are going to be and go from there. I'm seeing CM Griffin. Yeah, so like just having, you know, like what was their background? How did they get into tech? You know, what kinds of projects did they work on? Like how do they stand out to companies and things like that? It's really, I find it really interesting to kind of hear like from other people, like what are their perspectives and what kinds of stuff do they build? You know, obviously as, you know, nearly full-time streamers, both CM Griffin and Striker, they do a lot of work on Twitch to help people out. It's like, what motivates them to help other people out? Like, why do they stream so much and get into those kinds of things? So those are things that that I think are you know, pretty interesting topics, at least for me to try to get into. So yeah, so we'll let's see. Just having a look through Twitch and see like who else is on Twitch today, what else is going on, and who else is streaming and stuff like that. It's a pretty quiet day on the streamerverse today. Not too many folks streaming today. He has a ton of cool projects that he's built on streams. Very DIY coder, yeah, for sure. I mean, I spend a lot of time on their channels too, mostly lurking. I don't always engage on their chat, but I hang out on both of their chats quite a bit. So, finally making progress on your Ender 3 belt kit. Oh, sweet. Sounds cool, Justin. I've got the Bamboo Labs X1 Carbon with the AMS coming sometime, maybe August, September kind of timeline. I still have to get my Palette 3 Pro shipped back to Mosaic. I think I found a box finally big enough for it, so I have to coordinate with DHL to like come watch me pack it in a box. Apparently they have to be present while you're packing the box so they know what's in the box or something. I don't know why. So I have to schedule with them this week to come watch me package that thing up and get that shipped out. Hopefully they can get it repaired and fixed. If not, I'm just going to ask them to refund it, and I'll like put that money towards some other 3D printing project of some kind. And then, yeah, of course, got the Prusa XL on pre-order, but I'm not expecting it anytime soon. They keep getting hit with delays and stuff like that. I'm happy that their quality control is so high, but I'm worried about the logistics that it's, you know, their quality control is like so stringent that it's causing tons of backlog. So to say that it'll be over a year, you know, putting that pre-order in by the time I get that printer, I imagine. So I'm not expecting it anytime this year, to be honest. So didn't have space for the X1 with the AMS until you sell a printer. Wife told me I have a max of 4 until you have a house. Yeah, it's probably good advice. Saw the XL at Murph. It's close, but it needs a lot of firmware fixing. Yeah, interesting. Well, it sounds too like Joe was talking about how they want to make 100 prototypes and like start getting those out, you know, for more thorough testing. And I wonder if they're going to send those out to like community members and YouTubers and stuff like that to actually get more hands-on kind of feedback to make those kinds of improvements, or if those 100 units are just internal. But it sounds like they're having problems just even getting the parts to build those 100, you know, Prusa XLs. So they're having chip issues. Yeah, they're having lots of issues with power supplies and things like that too. Like they had to change out the power supply and all kinds of stuff. The Bamboo is awesome to see at Murph, hoping they make some changes. Yeah. Prusa at Murph couldn't do more than one tool head, even though they had 5 on there. Interesting. Hey, RC Maniac, good to see you. Yeah, interesting stuff. Cool. Let's go see if we can find somebody to raid over to. See who's on today. Nobody I typically follow doing software today or interviewing today. So let's go find somebody new. Let's go find See, this person is doing... What are they coding? .cs. Oh, they're doing C#. So we got a C# developer. We got a handful of other people. If anybody has suggestions on who to go raid, we'll start thinking about raids. But Bamboo finally released their slicer source. Yeah, I saw that. I haven't had a chance to try to build it out yet. But I've heard that somebody actually made a Windows installer, so I might give it a shot just to kind of tinker with it a little bit. Obviously, don't have the printer to do anything with it yet, but have the hotel and car booked. Just got to book the flight. Oh, for Earth. I mean, I might consider Earth in October, maybe. I'm actually going to be... Actually, when is Earth? I'm kind of curious, like, where is it and when? Because I'm already planning to be out in New York. Oh, it's going to be in Maryland. That's not the week that I'm going to be in New York. If it coincided with the week that I was going to be in New York, I might have taken a trip, but I'm going to be out there like the following week. Oh well. Yeah, it happens. Let's see. So we got some C# going on. This person is doing some, looks like doing some Node with some SQL. Just take a really long trip. I mean, I probably could because I can work remotely, but I do have family obligations and streaming and everything else that I want to be doing too. Lots of side projects and stuff. So I've been working a little bit more on the chatbot for like controlling the lights and things like that. But I also want to rebuild the giveaway. But I had some really good feedback recently on the podcasts and things like that the audio levels need a lot of work. And so as soon as I finish up a little bit more on the newsletters, I want to dive in on how I do the video clips and audio clips and make sure that the audio levels get kind of normalized, because some people are like, the little teaser intro on the podcast audio is like really loud, and then the actual intro is like another audio level, and then the audio clip that I extract from the live stream like this is another audio level. And I know with FFmpeg you can kind of go pre-analyze like what those audio levels are, and then you can tell it to normalize so that they're all the same volume, and then like go build that episode. So I just got to go dig in on like what those flags are and like what the steps are to like go pre-analyze those, get those values of like what's the maximum or the average sort of audio level, and do that across like 3 or 4 different files, and then say like as you reprocess, like normalize them at this level, and then go append them all together to actually go make that final thing. So got a little bit of work to do on the audio side, but I really appreciate everybody that took time to give me that kind of feedback. Well, I'm looking at this dude's setup. He's got like a 30-inch, probably a 32-inch TV in front of him, plus 2 vertical monitors, plus he's got another giant curved monitor up in front of him. That is a ridiculous setup. I got to show you all this setup, see if I can get it over here before he takes it away. Look at this guy's setup. He's got these 2, vertical monitors here, plus the big one in the middle, plus he's got like another one up on top. That's pretty wild. I would have a hard time with that. Like I would have to like sit back all the time to like have another monitor up there. That would be really distracting for me. Plus knowing where the cameras are and stuff like that would be pretty intense for sure. Cool. Yeah, if anybody else has ideas on who we can go raid, I'm kind of out of ideas, but I do like to raid into other channels, and I'm always happy to go meet somebody new. So if anybody's got ideas around that, I'm open to some ideas. There are a couple of makers online, but I was hoping to get into someone that's doing some software development today. But if not, I'm okay with just shutting down as well. That's a lot of space. I've got a 49-inch ultra wide. I thought about getting the 49-inch, but at the time I was doing a lot of Zoom calls where I was sharing my screen, and it would share the entire like gigantic panel. And so I decided to opt into 2 separate monitors instead. Plus it makes snapping into like regions on the screen a little bit easier on a lot of platforms. So I went with 2 monitors, and then I've got one vertical one kind of over on this side as well. If I was streaming, you'd raid into your channel. Well, go start streaming and I'll go raid into your channel, Justin. Totally cool with that. So Justin's a friend of mine. We did some 3D printing back in 2020 with doing some PPE and getting, if anybody saw the Prusa head, the face guard or whatever with the headband, we were like 3D printing the headbands and helping out a lot of medical and dental groups in Colorado. We had about 500 makers and we made close to 100,000 parts over the course of, 5 months, 6 months. I had 6 printers going full time down here in the basement, just cranking out tons of PTG. Just like spools and spools and spools of it. I lost count of like how many kilograms of PTG I went through. RWX Rob, yeah, we could go stream over to him. I haven't streamed over, or I haven't raided over to his channel. But Justin, let me know if you are going to stream, because if you're going to stream, then I'll raid over. But if not, then I'll, I think we'll just go over to RWX Rob. Haven't been over to his channel in a little bit. What's he up to today? Got to sit through an ad first, and then we'll see. You are going to start one up? Okay. Cool. Let's go see what RWX Rob is doing. Skill stack beginner boost. Just want to go see what Rob's up to today. His stream tends to run like a really, really long time all the time, and sometimes he's not always on the stream, but he's probably there today. He's only been streaming for 2 hours. Working through some Git stuff, it looks like. Cool. Well, if Justin's going to stream, then we'll go right over to Justin as soon as Justin's up and running. So Justin, no rush. But if you're going to stream, then we'll go right over to there. Rashmaniac says, I planned to make some headbands, spent basically 2 to 3 months getting the printer tuned and working, and people didn't seem to need as many. Yeah, I mean, we had a huge need for it out here in Colorado because we weren't on like the federal protective equipment list or something like that, or we were having problems importing into Colorado, and so we rallied as a team to put that stuff together. So it was the most organized distributed manufacturing for face bands in the country. Yeah, it was a pretty fantastic project to get into. It was called Make for COVID, and their Slack thing is still up and running. So just kind of curious what Rob's up to. Just want to switch over to that screen here for a sec. Kind of curious what he's. Oops, wrong window. Let's go over to this one instead. Here we go. He's doing some bash scripting, looks like. Doing printf with bash. It's kind of interesting. I haven't used printf and bash before. It's kind of interesting getting into that. I love bash shell scripting. I've done so much shell scripting. It's pretty great. I do a lot of automation between Bash and Python for like working on the stream and like clipping out bits of audio streams and video streams and stuff like that. So Cool Man grew up in Colorado. That's cool. Which part? I'm right between Denver and Boulder. So yeah, I'm always curious where people are from. So Justin's up north, up in Fort Collins kind of area, and yeah, I'm a little bit curious what Rob's up to here today. Looks like he's printing some kind of ASCII code to like do some sort of colorization or something on his prompts. I don't have the audio turned on, but I'm kind of curious what he's up to. It's really interesting. So my oldest is getting into some Python as well, and was curious about like getting into printing ASCII characters. He's making a little text-based game. We were talking about the old Zork video game, and so he's got some ideas now on building a similar Zork-based game. And so he's figuring out like color codes to like, you've been eaten by a grue, and like make that red, text as a console type of game. So Ched Dev's out of Denver. That's awesome. Don't know the exact part near Colorado Springs. Dad used to work for the County in Denver 11 or so years ago. Yeah, cool. Haven't been down to the Springs in a while. Gosh, I want to say it's been 2.5 years, I think, since I was down in Colorado Springs kind of area. Love those text-based games. Yeah. So we had a big long chat about like what does it take to build those games? How do you design the like what you have to put as your prompt? How do you design the room? How do you connect the rooms? Like all that kind of stuff has been pretty fascinating. So looks like Justin's up and running. So we will go right over into Justin's channel. Justin is big into 3D printing. He has lots of cameras and stuff set up around his room, looks like. So he's just reorganizing some stuff on his stream, and then we'll go right over there and see what Justin's up to, and see what he's 3D printing these days. I should just hire Justin to build me a Voron at some point. So he's just getting cameras and stuff. It looks like he's building a belt-based conveyor belt type of 3D printer. So we'll go check that out in a little bit. Making those games is always fun. Yeah. So back in the day, I used to really heavily promote Learn Python the Hard Way, which is a book written by a guy named Zed Shah. And Zed kind of went off the rails on Twitter a couple of years ago, and so I tend not to promote his work anymore. But one of the things that he did really well when he was originally introducing his content was he actually walked you through how to build a game just like Zork, doing object-oriented Python. And his methodology of it was actually really great as far as like walking you through how to build out the code and so on. But then, yeah, he started getting like really toxic on Twitter. So I stopped following him, stopped paying attention to him, and I stopped recommending his stuff. But it was kind of disappointing. But his tutorial for that actually was really good. And I think I've still got an old copy of his book. And I need to dig that out somewhere, because I did buy a copy way back in the day, so I'll probably give that over to my 13-year-old that wants to get in on that. So cool. Yeah, I think we'll go see what Justin's up to on his stream here in a little bit. So yeah, go hang out with Justin here. We'll go get that set up, and go give him a follow as well. He's only got a handful of followers. I'm sure he'd love to get over to affiliate status. So let's give him some follows, and we'll see you over in his channel here in a little bit. I'm actually not following him myself, so I'm gonna go do that, and then yeah, let's go right over to Justin. Thanks for hanging out, everybody. So I'll get the sign up and stuff ready to go for the giveaway, and we'll get that published for folks that are following, and then we'll see you on the stream. Not this Thursday. I'm gonna maybe stream. I would like to stream sometime later this week. But we'll definitely stream next Sunday, and then yeah, we'll go from there. Maybe next Sunday, if I don't have a guest on the stream, we'll do the giveaway next Sunday. So we'll go from there. All right, have a good day, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we'll chat at you next time. Thanks for hanging out.